Check out FlipsideGaming.com for all your gaming needs. Use the promo code HEROES to save 10% on all orders over $10 and support the channel at the same time. It's John from Heroes and Legends. Welcome to part 6 of our 6-part Iconic Masters full set review. Today we're going to look at all of the colorless cards. That includes artifacts, lands, and the one lone colorless spell, which we'll see in just a moment. Now, if you've been watching the series all along, you've seen all the other chapters, you've seen the color pie, and you know what to expect here. This is a limited set review, so we're going to be talking about draft, we're going to be talking about sealed a little bit. Basically, the archetypes that these cards are best in and where their strengths are going to be for the limited games. Now, these are all reprints, so we kind of know what they do in Constructed, and that's why we're focusing more on sealed and draft here. Quickly before we get started, though, if you check out the description below, you'll find a few ways to help support the channel. One of which is our Patreon page. You're also going to find some links for Amazon products. If you make any purchases through those links, we get a small percentage. And then finally, Flipside Gaming has offered a promo code for our viewers. They're doing Iconic Masters pre-orders. You can get your new dual decks there. They have a whole bunch of new products in, as you can imagine. So check that out. Hopefully save yourself some money. With that being said, let's get into it. And we're going to start off with Sign of Ugin. So Sign of Ugin, when this was in limited before, I was not a big fan of it. It was a little expensive for a 4/4 flyer. And yeah, I did use it occasionally if I was really desperate for a flyer, just something that's maybe a little higher end curve. But most of the time, it sat in my sideboard. One thing, though, you do want to remember is Rakdos does have a Dragon Matters theme. And this is a Dragon Spirit. So there are going to be times where this card gets a little bit better, maybe if you're in Rakdos colors. Not all the time. If you're not into that theme, I'm probably skipping this most of the time. But if I am, maybe it makes your cut. All right, let's move on to artifacts, starting off with a great reprint, Aether Vial. Now, Aether Vial, much needed reprint. Glad to see it. It's a fantastic card for Constructed. I mean, great when you're trying to put out a lot of little creatures like Merfolk or something like that, right? How does that convert to this particular limited environment? Well, okay. Like as good as Aether Vial probably converts to any limited environment. You can look at this one of two ways. You put this out early, you start building up counters to try to hit a high number, or maybe cast your big like 7 or 8 drop a little bit earlier. That's one way to go with it. Or you maybe have a lot of creatures at a certain spot in your mana curve, whether that's the 2 spot, the 3 spot. You work the counters up to that spot, and then you hopefully dump some creatures in more efficiently. You can play something for free, and also potentially cast something too, and just kind of speed through your cards a little faster. So is it always going to make your cut? No, you're going to have a good reason for using this, especially considering there's so many powerful cards in the set. But there are times where this will be okay for you. Bubbling Cauldron. Okay, I talked a lot about this one when we were talking about the black cards the other day and the Festering Newt and such, but it feels a little janky to me. Like, yes, there's some motivation to use this if you're in Orzhov because of the life gain, sure. And as long as you have a few newts on hand, well, yeah, and you have the witch too, then the newts can actually kind of mess up your opponent's board state, take out a couple bigger creatures. But you're asking a lot here, especially considering, again, the power level of the set. I don't feel like I need to jump through hoops. There's just good cards, and these cards are making me jump through too many hoops. So I don't see myself playing this most of the time. Darksteel Axe, fine piece of equipment. It almost was kind of like they wanted to get a piece of equipment in here. It's indestructible, that's kind of nice. It only costs 1 and 2 to equip. +2/+0 is nothing earth-shaking, but it's decent, especially if you have some spells to temporarily make your creatures unblockable. You'll find that sometimes in Izzet with the prowess creatures, so maybe you get a little more advantage in a deck like that with something like this, but it's still a fine piece of equipment if you have room for it. Dragonloft Idol. 3/3 for 4 is okay, but not super exciting in this set. But if you have a dragon, then it becomes a 4/4 flyer with trample. That becomes a lot better. So again, if you're in Rakdos, or if you just have a good amount of dragons, yeah, then this does become playable. Guardian Idol. Okay, here's the first of many mana rocks we're about to look at, which makes sense for this set because there's a lot of expensive things in it. This almost feels like a commander cube in some ways. So we've been talking all week how Gruul is kind of the color combination of ramp, and they really want it. But let's face it, like any color is probably going to be really happy with some mana rocks because there are some expensive things to cast. Also, this can become a creature in a pinch if you need it to. Kolgon Monument. Okay, this is the lone monument you see here because, again, it interacts well with the Rakdos Dragon plan, which makes sense. But, again, at the end of the day, this is also a 3 casting cost artifact that taps for a mana. So sometimes you might not even be in the colors and just need a mana rock, and this is here for you. If you are in Rakdos, obviously this gets better. Mannequin. Here's another living mana rock this time around. This is a 2 casting cost 1/1, but it can tap for mana, so it can be relevant. A little fragile, but still relevant. Mind Stone, great mana rock if you've ever played with this one. Costs 2, taps for mana, and you know what? When you don't need the mana anymore in the future, pay 1, tap it, sack it, draw a card so it does replace itself. That's super sweet. Mind Crank. Okay, here's a card that goes along with the Dimir Mill strategy. We talked about this a lot when we looked at blue and black, but this is just another card to complement that. You don't necessarily either need to be like all in with like 2 copies of Glimpse the Unthinkable or something like that to play Mill. Like even milling here and there when you're looking at a 40 card deck across the table can put your opponent on a clock and put pressure on them. So you don't necessarily always have to have a true flushed out mill strategy for it to be successful. So just keep that in mind. But here's another component to that. Mishra's Bauble. This is here mostly because it just needed a reprint, let's face it. Like the thing was an uncommon, it had reached high price points of $60, even more at one point. It's come down quite a bit, obviously, since then. And this is going to help cement this card become a very affordable card for Modern and for whatever purposes you want to pick it up for. So it is an uncommon, there's going to be a lot of copies coming out of this set, which is nice. But let's talk about its relevancy in Limited. Where do you play this thing? Well, I mean, there's some weird interactions you could figure out with this. For example, like Illusory Angel, you could play this for 0 and then play that for 3 because you do need to cast something before you're allowed to cast that card. So, like, yeah, that would be cool, but that's not going to happen very often. I mean, you do get a little bit of information when you sacrifice it. You also get to replace it, so you work through your deck. But let's be honest, most of the time you're probably not running it. Moonglove Extract. A little expensive for 2 damage to player or creature, and it also kind of forecasts what you're doing. There's just better things you could be doing, probably, but if you're really desperate for some direct damage, it's there for you. Oblivion Stone, another much-needed reprint. Also with new art, looks pretty sweet. This is a very popular card in the past, of course, in Modern Tron decks, and it kind of works like a board sweep in a way, or at least a selected board sweep, as long as you have the mana. So that's the thing with this card. It also forecasts what you're doing a little bit, unless you can pay a lot of mana up front, which you might be able to do at times in Gruul, but not all the time. So the card is good if you can swing it. Here's the thing. I don't know if I always play this. If I'm in Gruul and I have a lot of expendable mana, maybe I'm going to try it out there. But if I'm in a more lean deck like Boros Aggro or something, I'm probably going to skip this. As much as I love the card and I love the fact that I could eventually do basically a selected board wipe, you're also forecasting it quite a bit in advance if you're just doing it in increments, and your opponent's going to hold on to their good cards. They're not going to overplay into this. So that makes it not quite as good as, say, like a Supreme Verdict or something like that when it comes to limited purposes anyway. So kind of is what it is, and also if it gets shattered before you can use it, that's going to be really painful. You just wasted a ton of resources. So this ends up being one of those cards that's better and constructed, probably. I mean, obviously great in Tron, where you have a ton of mana expendable. Palladium Mirror, another good mana card here. It's a 2/2 creature for 3, taps for 2 colorless mana. Fantastic, again, not just for Gruul, but wherever you need mana. Pristine Talisman, another mana rock. This one also gains you some life, so sometimes it'll be relevant in the Orzhov Life Matters build. So keep that in mind, but at the end of the day, just still a fine mana rock. Rune Servitor, they love to reprint this card. It shows up all the time, and it's pretty good. I end up using this a lot, actually. 2 casting costs, 2/2 creature, and when it dies, replaces itself. Yeah, I mean, that's actually pretty awesome. So, yeah, I do play these. Sandstone Oracle. This is a little expensive. I mean, it's a 4/4 flyer. Now, if you end up drawing some cards, it's definitely worth it. But that's not guaranteed. So I can see myself playing this occasionally, but maybe not all the time. It's maybe a little bit better in Gruul if I can dump my hand fast and then ramp into this and draw some more cards and fuel my engine. But that's not always going to work out for you in Limited. Serum Powder. Okay, this is basically here because it's a mana rock. It's an interesting card. It's a little more effective in like Constructed than Limited, obviously, when it comes to that other ability. I mean, you can use it in Limited, but it's just a lot better in Constructed. So, yeah, I think it's just mostly here to be a mana rock. Star Compass, another mana rock, comes into play tab. This one actually gives you mana of a color that one of your basic lands can already produce. So that can be very helpful. Thran Dynamo. This one's awesome. 4 casting cost, taps for 3 mana. This is a great way to just ramp into something big quickly. Trepanation Blade, another mill card, and again, best in Dimir, but you don't necessarily always have to go all in to find value here. Also, sometimes you can just get some extra damage across if you're lucky with this card. Alright, let's move on to the lands, and we're going to see all 10 of the bounce lands from the original Ravnica block today. So keep that in mind. We have Azorius Chancery. This, of course, is the one that affects white and blue. And these are good lands. I mean, they're going to help you fix colors. They're going to help you accelerate even a little bit from time to time. So they are definitely fulfilling a good role for the limited game here. These are at uncommon, so they will be around. You'll have opportunities to grab them. Here's Boros Garrison. Of course, this is the bounce land for red and white. Dimir Aqueduct, bounce land for blue and black. Evolving Wilds. Okay, this is a staple. We see it all the time, but something I want to point out. There is a little bit of landfall in this particular set. Not a whole ton, but a little bit, and this is one of those ways to actually get 2 landfall triggers in one turn. There's not a lot of ways, but this is one of them, and also, of course, it fixes your mana and such, as it always does. Golgari Rot Farm. This is the bounce land, of course, for black and green. Graven Cairns. Okay, this is a filter land. Now, unfortunately, this is the only filter land we get. I'd love to see all 10 of these reprinted, but it looks like what they did was reprint some of these kind of key lands from Future Sight. Most of them much needed reprints. This one maybe slightly less so, but it's fine if you're trying to fix your colors, maybe splash. Grove of the Burn Willows. Okay, here's another one of those Future Sight lands. Of course, this is a great land when it comes to certain strategies and construct it, but what's it going to do for you in limited? Well, it's just fine if you're trying to fix your colors or splash again. Now, your opponent does gain a life if you pull a red or a green out of it, which might be a little awkward if they're on Orzhov, but for the most part, it's still a good way to fix your stuff. Gruul Turf, here's the bounce land for red and green. Horizon Canopy, all right, a much welcome reprint. Finally, this card's starting to go down a little bit to like $70, $75. Hopefully that will come down a lot more when this product actually hits the streets. But this is just an awesome constructed card. Sees tons of play in Modern, Legacy. And what's nice about it is, okay, you do have to pay 1 life and tap it to get the green or the white out of it. But then later on, when it doesn't matter anymore and you have too much land, you can pay 1, tap, sack it, and it replaces itself. You get another card draw out of it. Very powerful effect, especially in constructed. Very good for you, though, too, in limited. Just a very playable way to fix your mana or splash for something. Is it Boilerworks? Here's the bounce land for blue and red. Nimbus Maze. Here's another one of these kind of strange Future Sight lands. This one's interesting because basically the way it works is if you have an island in play, you can tap this for white. If you have a plains in play, then you can tap this for blue. And you can also tap it for colorless if you need to in a pinch. So it's interesting. Again, it's just another kind of weird way to fix color or splash. Orzhov Basilica. Here's the bounce land for white and black. Radiant Fountain. This isn't doing too much. I mean, it gains you 2 life. It does tap for colorless mana. Now, obviously, this is really meant to be played if you're onto the Orzhov, like, Life Matters plan. And if you are, this could be okay for you. These also work well with the bounce lands, too. So you maybe are in that Orzhov build. You'd like to give this trigger a few times. You can always bounce it back, play it again. Rakdos Carnarium. Here's the bounce land for black and red. River of Tears. Okay, here's another one of these strange Future Sight lands. I always thought this one was funny. If this is in play and I want to tap it for blue, I have to tap it before I play my land. But if I want to tap it for black, I have to play my land first. So I have to be really thoughtful about what I'm doing before I just start throwing my land down, right? So I feel like it's really easy to make a mistake with this card. And because of that, I don't think we'll ever see this actually turned into a true cycle or anything like that. But it is a unique card, and yes, it does help you at least some of the time in limited. Selesnya Sanctuary. This is, of course, the bounce card for green and white. Shimmering Grotto. I mean, these are nice to have. I'm not crazy about these cards. I mean, they're filter lands that fix your mana if you're going deep in colors. Sometimes it's nice to have one of these, but they do slow you down a little bit too. And our last card, Simic Growth Chamber, which is our bounce land for green and blue. So we did it. We got there. And wow, it was a journey. This set seems like it's going to be a lot of fun, though. Just a lot of amazing interactions. It feels like it's going to be a really, really strong limited environment. I know a lot of people already played it. It has come a while back, so they probably already know. It just seems like a lot of fun. So I'm excited about it, and hopefully these videos have helped you prepare for the set release when you're going to be playing a little bit of draft, maybe at your LGS or some sealed coming up. It's also on Magic Online too, so I mean, that's probably where I'm going to end up playing it first. But yeah, I'm excited for it and looking forward to try it out. Like I said, I hope this was helpful to you. So anyway, we got there. Until next time, thanks for watching. Please remember to like and subscribe, and have a great day. Hey, thanks for watching. This video is made possible by the generous support of viewers like you on Patreon. Check out the description below for links to our Patreon page as well as our Amazon affiliate store, where a small percentage of all sales will also help support the channel. Finally, if you haven't had a chance yet to subscribe, hit that subscribe button so you don't miss any new videos on Heroes and Legends. Talk to you again soon, and have a great day.